jumping to my one sec, just zooming in a little bit so you guys can see. All good. So what we're trying to do today is, let's imagine we're trying to build a public site for a company, like a landing page, and pretty much without too many details at this point, because we're going to rebuild this from scratch, is we're going to have a carousel region at the top that's going to have two images sliding right or left, doesn't matter, but two images sliding one after the other. We're going to have a region we're going to show like a cards. We're going to have a new section, and then we're going to have an image that's going to be right of that region, right? And you'll see how it's going to all come together. What I owe you before I start doing anything is like page 0. On a page 0, I created a footer section in the same way, and you'll see as soon as we run the page. So there's going to be like a become member. We're going to have a social media sections. We're going to have some sort of links there that just to showcase, and a copyright section. It's pretty much keeping it simple, that there's going to be, so we can ignore CSS for now. But what we want to do is there's going to be like a header section, mid section, and the footer section. The footer section in our case is going to be coming from page 0. Just an example right here. All good. So without further ado, so I'm going to be doing this from scratch, and why I want to do it from scratch, so you can guys see how difficult or easy and how things are coming together. So just to show that on my page there isn't anything hidden or anything, so it's just a blank page. So we're gonna be creating, one sec, just let me, all good, create a section. So first one is a carousel. Good. Oh, good. So we're gonna make it like that, just so it's easier for me to see where we are. It's gonna be a carousel container. All good. We're gonna make it. We're gonna put a class on it. You'll see why and how we're gonna utilize that later. We're gonna make remove padding. We're gonna say you have 5 seconds to change yourself. We're gonna say you're hidden, and you're also gonna be okay. Stack region, perfect. All good. Remove padding, high headers. Okay, just double checking we have everything. Perfect. And then within this region, we're gonna creating a sub region, which is image 1. Okay. Oops, sorry. Image 1. Okay. That's going to be a blank with no grid, so pretty much just a container. Within this container, we're going to have 2 regions. One is going to be all good. One is going to be black with attributes, and we're going to call it text over image. Perfect. Like that, and just copying over what the values are going to be. If you look into it, there's not much. Pretty much it's just a div class here that doesn't contain anything, and then there's a p class, or there's a p tag with your opportunity star here, text, nothing too special. Okay, so if you're still with me, we're going for another region, which is an image, which is an image 1. All good. Just to distinguish the two. All good. Standard. Remove UI. So we're going to leave it standard. We're going to say remove UI. All good. And we're going to hide header. Okay. And if I copy over the source, there's nothing more to it. Then it's an image tag where we're referencing an image that I placed in application images, right? Okay, if I save, all good, and then we're going to create another region, which is going to be slider 2. Slider 2. Okay, so it's static. We're gonna remove the decorations. We're gonna hide headers. All good. And then we're gonna use another image similar to the previous one. If I say save, so pretty much my first carousel section should be up and running if we did all right. So let me just zoom out a little bit. So we have, just to give you so we have a logo at the top. We have some buttons here as a on the right hand side. There's a footer section, so this is the section that we created on page 0, and this is a carousel region that we just created now. And just bear with me because we're building up sections as we go. There's 3 more sections, so pretty much this one is the most important one. Or it's gonna be, I call it black region just because it has a black background. We're gonna say blank with attributes, no grid. We're gonna add a little bit of CSS flavor or classes to it. Okay. And then in here we're creating 2 subregions. One is called which is that one. It's gonna be blank with attributes. Okay, and we're just putting some more classes on this one. Okay. If I save, perfect. I create one more region, and I say, so this one is the cards region. It's gonna be a classic report. It's gonna be based on a SQL. All good. Just bear with me for 2 more seconds. We're not too far. Just trying to bring up all good. So if I say that this one is blank with attributes, there is a CSS classes. Then we're gonna put on it. We're gonna put the ID as well, just so that we can reference it in the CSS. Perfect. We're saving, and I'll slightly change the attributes of the, so we won't have any pagination. We will say template is Lino template. So I created a template. The only difference between standard cards and my ones is I added an image tag in it, nothing else. So I won't go into too many details on it. All good. We're gonna apply colors. We're gonna raise a card. We're gonna display icons. All good. Play theme colors featured. All good, and I think I've covered all of it. Okay. We say save, and one more thing to do is my card title. I want to make a link, and I'm gonna make a URL here. All of my URLs for this application at the moment are just the blank ones. They're not taking us anywhere, just to showcase the build-up of these features on the application. So if I save and if I try to run, so we would get another section on the page. All good. So as we are growing, you can see, so we have a carousel on the top. All good. So we build a region, this one, which has 3 cards, just because my query returns 3 results. All good. As you can see, images are not processed or prepared, so pretty much it's just something I found online. All good. We have 2 more to go, so not too far. Create a region. This one is simple. Oops. News region. Template is a content block. So if I do content block, perfect. So we say class margin equals to large, and then I copy what's going to be in here as a source. Again, there's not much to it. These are 2 p tags, each one containing, so one has a SkillBuilders, here has a text, the other one has some other text and with a link in here. Okay, and if we say that's going to start on a page or column 3, and then we're going to add the final one, create a region, image right, so I can call it image. All good, image right, perfect, blank with no attributes, so we're going to change the template again. All good, almost there, bear with me more second, just putting class and adding a content, and we can go live with it. Perfect, this is what we wanted to do. So we have 2 sliders, so carousel with 2 sliders. We have a image that's containing cards and a text region, and then we have a news section and image that needs to be on the right. So I have to say start new row no, and if I run this now, our app is starting to get the shape right. All good. As you can see, it's all messy and unordered and stuff, but the point is, this is so I'm gonna do a little bit of magic. So copying, one sec, just bear with me. So pretty much we built, so there's a cards region on it, there's a carousel region, all of it can be dynamic. And how do we make it nice and pretty, right? Of course we need some CSS. So I'm gonna use some pasting in, even though I'm using inline, this is just for the sake of demo. You want to pretty much be minimizing this and putting it in your applications as a reference, a CSS file, not an inline CSS. So difference between what we got so far is like we got all components. So we have carousel, 2 images, we have cards with the buttons and links and stuff, all good, but it looks messy. And if we apply a little bit of CSS and say save, and we'll just bear with me, we'll jump in a second into what CSS actually is doing, we get far better results. And to make this even more advanced, so I have to beautify the footer section. So I'm jumping back to my footer section, and we're gonna CSS. So there is a commented CSS, and in a second we're gonna come back to CSS section on page 1, just so that you guys can see what's hiding behind the screens, because there's not much. Okay, so everything is nice and happy and CSS is in place. If we run this, so page looks good, footer becomes something nice and ordered. So we have some links here, as we said. It's just a list. There's a social media, which is just a list of tags, like image tags with the links on them. There's a button here that we done, and there's a copyright here, which we're doing. But we also added a little bit of flavor. So if you hover over, you'll see that each of these icons are sort of responsive, which people love. And with just a few little touches, so it took us roughly 15 minutes to come to this point. In preparation for this session, I think I've spent like roughly 2 days just thinking about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. Let's jump into CSS now, because that's now the key, and the message behind it is massive. So by far, I'm no a CSS guru or expert like Shakib or Maxime Tremblay, for example, or Vincent Monroe, but and you'll find heaps of these things here. Oh, sorry, heaps of things in here that can be done better, like better done or optimized for CSS performance as well. And the point is, if we go through and just roughly, so for example, I'm going to pick that one. So I have a class here, banner text 2, and I'm setting a background color. And then also on some of them, I'm setting max width and max height. And if you go through it, pretty much how I was doing this is I build up my page. So I build up, so if I say, okay, so I build up my regions, I build up my page, and then I said, okay, I need to beautify this. And then I came into CSS and just started typing, right? and then I went region by region, part by part, and pretty much tried to make this as good as possible in like 2 days time. But point is, if I knew, and if I go back to the screen that I told you about, or the apexoracle.com UT, and if I say colors, for example, so if I pick any of these colors, and I think in my example, going back, so in my example, I can use color color 43 text. So I copy this, and pretty much if I go and find that, you'll see that it's just a bluish color. Okay, and pretty much now I realize that I can pretty much replace this, and I actually don't need that line of code at all. And if I go to the banner text, if I say OK and go to the banner text, which is that one, okay, so all I have to do is add this to my div. So just to make this a little bit more clear, so I had the banner text too, and I updated it. So I've removed the color for my that was for background 1.6. So I'll do this. So if I do this on the background, it should be fine. All good. So I say OK, and I say save. Before I run the page, so the point is this text. So we're playing with this text. So currently it's white, and just to prove that we were there. One moment. All good. So my banner text too, that one had a background color of black, and you can see it here. So if I go back, you see how it has this color, even though there's a opacity factor applied to it. So if I refresh the page, just simply by changing that, we've changed this to blue, right? You see, so, and pretty much loads of these classes I could change and optimize my CSS, and pretty much none of these would be necessary. So I could filter my so these ones are fine, but there's like background color again. So pretty much every single line here could be there's something that we can optimize and fine tune. And the way how we can do that is simply by applying color classes here, layout modifiers as well, floating stuff. And if you look through my code, so I won't go into details because we can do this all day long. If I look at one of my classes, for example, that one, all good. So that one, for example, if I look at this section here and zooming in a little bit, you'll see that I do hidden when we're on the medium screen and under, and then I'm making text upper, and then there's my custom SkillBuilders section titled class here. And pretty much the other two, like text upper and hidden MD down, are nothing more than coming from here. So layout, if I do margins, so it's a content modifier. So if I do text upper, that's going to put all my text to uppercase, and also my responsive classes, which I said hidden MD down. And then if I translate this, only on the large screens it will be visible, and then if I go medium and smaller screens it will be hidden. So pretty much why I'm doing that. So if you've seen that I haven't done too much with the CSS, it was just pretty much just to make it nice, but page is not 100% bulletproof in terms of going down to the mobile page, but just let's give it a go. So if you go all the way down, there's an issue with an image, which is fine, but pretty much the rest looks okay. So it's scaled down, it showed the fine without me having to do anything on it, which is the beauty of universal theme, right? And the class that we applied, so this text, if it's a large screen, it's fine. If I go small screens, then it will disappear. See, so there's no text here anymore. All good. And pretty much across all of these, there's not much that I've used. So I'm applying margin class again, coming from that universal theme classes. That one is again this one is again and pretty much just to showcase how many things you already have built in universal theme and how easy it is to actually utilize it, right? I didn't have to write many of it. And one of the examples that I can go over is this one. So many of us would write, okay, I'm adding an image, for example, here, and then I'm adding some classes, and then I specify a height and a width, right? But pretty much if we have already this available, which I can make, which we'll go over here. Sorry, wrong one. There. All good. So if we go here and say content modifiers and go all the way layout, sorry. All good. And we go all the way down. We have a width modifiers, and then pretty much I could set my maximum width to be mxw, for example, 600, which would replace my class there. All good. So I wouldn't need this, and I can just add mxw 600, for example, and that would make my screen to be maximally width of 600 pixels, right? And so on and so on. So I'm hoping you got the feeling and that you see where this is going, and I'm hoping that this didn't discourage you of sort of playing with CSS, right? And just we have 10 more minutes. Going back to the application, going back to my slides. All good. Usually when I demo this and people go and say, okay, you did this in 19.1 and what do we do if we're on 5, right? Some of the features available on like facet search, for example, in 92 or reflow or toggle reports are not available for you in 5 version of Apex, but Maxim did an excellent presentation on Maxim Tremblay. He did an excellent presentation on Kscope this year and last year as well. I highly recommend you having a look at his app and what he's doing with CSS. Awesome stuff, and you can utilize most of it straight away in your application as well. And he also showed how you can create your responsive tables, and it can be classic report and interactive reports based in your Apex 5 application that's going to be doing similar stuff. So if you go smaller screens, it will change from a column to a row display, which is a great feature for mobile applications and sort of mobile screens as well. And to sum my presentations for today, building application in Apex has never been easy. That's 100% true, but it's also never been harder to keep up to date with everything, because there's new release, like 2 releases each year, and if you don't get to use one and you skip the other, then you have a gap of a year, which sometimes can be significant in terms of it can hugely help you easily build some of these things that I've done today, for example, in a version of Apex 20, for example. And that's why it's important to keep up to date. I always say power is in your hands, so pretty much if you spend time learning a little bit of CSS, you'll see that these tricks that Maxime does and that I used in my application as well, these are simple CSS things that you can do, and it makes your application far better in user experience, right? Universal theme and 19 version of Apex components, they always new and refreshing. They always try to sort of keep up with what's latest. One of them was the facet search. Please make sure that you don't unsubscribe from Universal Theme. Don't create themes from scratch. That's what you needed to do before, like before version 5. Nowadays it's like history, luckily, which is good for all of us. And try to verify, or always verify and refresh your Universal Theme on each upgrade. That's kind of a bottom line, because if you don't do that, then your Universal Theme won't be on the latest version, which can cause you issues down the road. Other than that, I'm hoping, Karen, if we had any questions, we can take them now.